I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are going to completely dismantle everything you thought you knew about making a living. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're working incredibly hard, putting in all that overtime, doing everything exactly right, but somehow you're still just not getting ahead, well, you are in the exact right place. Today in this explainer, we are going to focus on a massive paradigm shift, and that is why wealth replaces salary. We're going to break down the exact mechanics of how to build wealth from absolutely nothing. And spoiler alert here, it has zero to do with grinding out more hours at a desk or begging your boss for a tiny little raise. By the time we wrap this up, you are going to see the entire concept of income in a completely different light. So get ready to change your equation.
So, what if the money equation you were taught is just fundamentally flawed? I really want you to stop and think about that for a second. For practically our entire lives, right? From the time we're sitting in middle school math class to the day we enter the corporate workforce, we are fed this very specific, very two-dimensional formula for earning a living. We're told, get good grades, get a secure job, put in your 40 hours a week, and safely collect that steady paycheck. We are rigorously trained to trade our time for money. But here's the thing. If your ultimate goal is to build real, sustainable wealth, that traditional equation, it's basically a broken compass. It will never, ever get you to your destination, no matter how fast you run in that direction.
Let's actually contrast the old equation directly with the new paradigm. On one side, you've got the old model, money equals salary plus time. But on the other side, we have the new paradigm, wealth equals a problem plus a scalable solution. And this right here is the absolute core of why wealth replaces salary. See, the old model ties your financial success directly to the clock, but the new model, it detaches you from the clock entirely. It completely shifts your focus away from tracking your hours and moves it towards finding solutions. Let's make this super concrete. If you're getting paid an hourly wage to, say, manually enter data, you are trapped in that old equation. But if you write a piece of software that automates that exact same data entry for thousands of companies, boom, you just stepped into the new equation. You stop being an employee of time and you start becoming an architect of wealth.
Because here is the fatal flaw of that old equation. It's really simple. Your time is finite. It is literally the one single resource you can never get back, you can't borrow it, and you definitely can't create more of it. Think about the imagery of someone just running endlessly on this glowing futuristic hamster wheel. I mean, you can run as fast as you want, you can put in massive amounts of overtime, you can work through your weekends, your holidays, the whole shebang. But eventually, you hit a hard, unbreakable cap. There are only 24 hours in a day. Even the absolute highest paid corporate lawyers or, specialized brain surgeons, they hit an income ceiling. Why? Because they still have to be physically or mentally present to bill for their work. If your income requires your physical presence, your earning potential has a permanent ceiling. And trading finite time for money is exactly what keeps incredibly smart, hardworking people stuck on that exact same hamster wheel.
Okay, which brings us to an absolute light bulb moment. Money is not something you chase. Money is a byproduct. So, what do the truly wealthy know that the rest of the world just kind of entirely misses? They know this exact truth. They do not wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, how do I make $1 today? Nope. Instead, they look out at this massive network of interconnected people and global markets, and they ask entirely different questions. They ask, what frustrates people? What is incredibly inefficient right now? What do people desperately wish existed? Think about a massive service like ride-sharing. The founders didn't just blindly chase cash. They solved the miserable everyday problem of standing in the freezing rain trying to hail a cab. If you want money, you literally have to stop chasing it directly. You have to start solving problems. Because when you solve a problem that the market desperately needs fixed, the money naturally follows. It is simply the byproduct of your solution.
So let's talk about the math of scale, because this is where things get incredibly exciting. The amount of wealth you generate is directly proportional to the size or the frequency of the problem you're solving. Look at it this way. If you look around your neighborhood and you solve a $10 problem for someone, let's say you fix a squeaky door for your neighbor. Great. You make $10, that's nice, it's super helpful, but it's not wealth. However, if you really listen to the market, identify a massive pain point, and solve a $1 million problem, like, say, fixing a severe supply chain bottleneck for an entire global industry, the market will literally throw millions at you. This is exactly why listening is your greatest tool. Finding a problem that is actually worth solving and a large enough audience that has that specific problem is the absolute foundation of this new equation. Okay, so how do we actually do this? Let's dive right into the nitty-gritty and walk step by step through the actual wealth-building process. It breaks down into 4 highly actionable steps. Step 1. Identify a problem. Just like we talked about, find what frustrates the global market, or even just a specific niche. Find that pain point. Step 2. Create a scalable solution. Now this means building something.
Maybe it's a physical product, a piece of digital media, a software platform, something that can grow without you having to put in extra hours for every single new customer. Step 3, build a system. This is absolutely crucial. This is the underlying architecture that allows your solution to run on its own. It's the automation, the hiring, the distribution networks. And finally, step 4, reap the rewards. This 4-step framework right here, this is how you go from absolutely nothing to substantial wealth. It's the exact blueprint for replacing a capped salary with completely limitless potential.
But that brings us to a really crucial hurdle, doesn't it? How do you actually break the time barrier? Because finding a problem is a fantastic start, but it simply isn't enough on its own. I mean, you could be a brilliant freelance designer who solves massive branding problems for huge companies. But if you still have to personally sit at your computer and painstakingly deliver the work to every single customer, one by one, you haven't broken the time barrier. You are still totally trapped by the hourglass. To achieve true scale, you have to shift your mindset from one-on-one labor to infinite replication. You have to figure out how to deliver your value to a massive audience simultaneously, all without duplicating your own personal effort.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the difference between these two completely distinct paths. Imagine a highly skilled yoga teacher, right? They're teaching one person in a room. The hourglass is running out of sand. Even if they are the absolute best teacher in the entire city and they charge a wildly high hourly rate, their income is still permanently capped by the physical hours in the day. Now contrast that with the wealth model. Think about a digital online course created by that exact same teacher. But now it's playing on thousands of smartphones simultaneously all over the world. The creator built the course once, they put in all that heavy lifting up front, sure, but now they are selling it infinitely. This is exactly what it means to replace a salary with wealth. It's the exact same expertise, the exact same core value, but the delivery mechanism has achieved infinite replication.
So, the absolutely crucial point, the thing you really need to take away from this is this. You must detach your time from your income. I want this to really sink in. If you charge by the hour, honestly, no matter how much you charge, even if it's $1,000 an hour, you haven't built wealth. You have just created a job for yourself. You're still operating under the old equation, just with a much better paycheck. But when you build something once, like that digital network, an online system, a book, an app, and you sell it over and over and over again, you completely sever the link between your time and your money. Building a passive system that just runs in the background, that is the true definition of scale. It's the magic mechanism that allows your wealth to grow exponentially while you sleep, while you're traveling, or while you're just hanging out spending time with your family.
Before we wrap up, let's redefine what we are actually talking about here. Because wealth is the ultimate reward of reclaiming your time and achieving freedom, rather than simply, hoarding cash like a dragon. This is the final and, quite frankly, the most profound lesson of this entire explainer. When you successfully build a scalable system, whether you end up selling that company for some massive, life-changing sum, or you just let it run passively in the background to fund your lifestyle, you've won. But it was never really about just stacking up money in a bank account, was it? The most valuable resource you have on this earth is your time. True wealth is stopping the cycle you hate, stepping off that exhausting hamster wheel once for all, and gaining the ultimate freedom to live life entirely on your own terms.
Look, the road to building this kind of system, it's tough. It takes immense upfront effort, and it requires you to literally unlearn decades of programming. But as we've just seen, the reward is ultimate freedom. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. What problem will you solve today? If you are genuinely ready to change your equation, if you're ready to stop trading your finite, precious time for a capped salary, the whole journey starts with that single question. Look around, listen to the market, find where it hurts, and start building your wealth from absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep this equation in mind and go find a problem worth solving.